alcohol, or other drugs. These can worsen your mental and physical well-being. Need help and support? Please contact us at the hotline 311, psychosocial support at 722-6575 or 518-4157. Brought to you by PAHO, the OACS Commission, and UNICEF.
The opinions expressed on this TV program by the hosts, co-hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions and responsibility of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of UTV or its affiliates.
Hello and welcome. Thank you to all who have joined the revolution on UTV, Underground Television, channel 124 on Flow. Now, you know I say this every day, so does Trisha, but people are still messaging all the time. They say they watch the show, but they still ask each and every time. Remember, channel UTV, channel 124 on Instagram, on Twitch, on TikTok. Of course, we're on YouTube, and channel 124 on Flow as well. And if you need, we've made a video, WhatsApp video, that has all the links, including the radio station partners, the great Hits FM, Hits Radio, that being 92.1 in the north, 91.1 in the south. It is Wednesday, and every day in politics, always remember my Auntie Janice, it's not her that originated the line, Lady Janice, Sir John's wife. But I always remember when she said it, for me for the first time, I was a little boy, and she said, a day in politics is like a year in real time. And you can feel the intensity building up. Where instead of having something happen once a week or once a month, it's every 5 minutes there's something of some kind of drama going on, because in the streets is getting hot, right? So it is Wednesday, the 9th of June, or as we know it, the 4th day of the 6th year of the 5-year term of the Shastri administration. Yep, we are living in ridiculous times, sadly. Before I go any further, I want to make the call for shout-outs. Shout-outs being tomorrow, God spare. So you can WhatsApp me your shout-outs to 758-519-1818. Send me the name, who you want to send a shout-out to, birthday greeting, any other greeting. You want to big up a business, you want to big up a crew, you want to big up a community. You say who it's coming from, and if there are nicknames, spell it how you want me to pronounce it. I do want to say a very special, and I think we should all join in wishing a happy 102nd birthday going out to Dennery native Miss Akori. Starbatch, thank you so much for sending that through to me. Thank you so much, Miss Akori. Hope you have a wonderful year. I wish somebody would sit down and interview you and ask you all the things, ask you about all the things that you've seen and how St. Lucia has transformed one way or the other, for the better, for the worse, and how you feel about things now, to see that at 102 years old, you are still standing, not even sitting down, standing and mobile and communicating at 102 years old. I think that is simply incredible. And when I hear stories about native Carib descendants in places like Saltibus who still know the native Carib words and the language for many of the places and things in St. Lucia, I desperately crave a St. Lucian history course, and I look forward, if there is a change in administration, in righting that egregious wrong that St. Lucia does not have a sense of national history. And I hope that Gregor Williams and others are commissioned immediately to put together a St. Lucian history syllabus and St. Lucian history documentaries left, right, and center, because a lot of the things that are happening to us now, because we do not know our past, we do not know our history, and that's why we are being exploited in a neo-colonial experiment right now. Of course, everybody, the day's drama is supposed to be the whole matter of Joachim Henry and his wife. I think the UWP overplayed its hand, but then again, they've been telegraphing their punches all this time. If nothing, they are not anything more than over-coordinated. I mean, they've been going and trying to push this thing with Hilaire to the point where Chasney literally has changed people from different positions to put in lackeys that will do his bidding and go through and muddy up the processes to try to make people look guilty for political expediency. Now, this is not about whether somebody transgressed or disrupted the church. I have said it before. I don't care who it is. If it's right, it's right. If it's wrong, it's wrong. If it was Guy Joseph that disrupted a church service, I would say it's wrong. If it was Shastey that did it, if it is literally Joachim, if it is his wife, all the same, right and wrong. It was wrong to disrupt the church. And we have to be able to say that. I can support Joachim if I want to or not support him. I can vote for him or not vote for him. And I can also acknowledge that what was done was wrong. I understand where he is. In many ways, I will never truly understand where he is, because to me, it's a lifetime and an eternity of grief. And I've explained that. That is my literal greatest fear. And I think no parent can have a worse fate. When I look at Alison Joe, when I look at the Shalmines, I look at all these people, anybody who outlives their children, even if it's by a day, I feel for you. I always, when I think of my former PS, Donovan Williams, same thing. That's how I feel. But understanding that, I also still have to maintain a sense of right and wrong. But it is interesting that Cornelia Jacob right now has given video. They have identified the person. The person is clearly seen in the video, yet the person has not even been brought in for questioning. But this is happening with regard to Joachim. You have a video of a vehicle careening through. Road rage, like what you've seen in the States, right? Going through a crowd. The video is there. You can slow down the video. The people who were involved in that incident know the person who drove the vehicle. They know him personally. And yet, we have not gotten an update. Let me see what happens by tonight. Oh no, nothing has happened with regard to Herod either. Nothing has happened with regard to Fortuna either. But what is this? Isn't this the same police force that was promised? Not the police force in total, but the hierarchy and the police commissioner, Milton. Wasn't he the one that promised that he would be a commissioner for all? Or is it a commissioner for and a K-A-L-L? I'm just asking. Let's make this clear. Because if it's that, you might as well take off the khaki and just come with a yellow commissioner's suit and finish with that. But even in terms of Chasney and them, I'm trying to figure out, why is it, oh yes, it's the two St. Lucias. So let's show the one that is making Chasney happy up to yesterday. Now make no mistake, I have seen video and everything of motorcades or small motorcades or whatever you want to call it. I don't know how they work out. Is it has to be more than 7 vehicles? All kinds of rationalizations. And it's on both sides right now. But let's make no mistake, whatever happened on Sunday has really struck a chord. They are incensed. And what I can't understand with them being incensed is, have they gotten so accustomed to our civil liberties being stymied and stifled and suppressed? This government having its foot on our knee on our necks, that any type of show of solidarity, whether it be politically or dissent, even in a creative way like panning them, why is it that that has Chasney and them so upset? And now the daily thing is they have to send people out to go and do little motorcades and whatever. I mean, were they really caught by surprise to that extent? Have they not been feeling the mood on the ground to know that people are pissed off and that people have a right to be mad? And then again, I say it again, people have come up with a nice, creative way to dissent, non-violent. They're not cursing you, they're not shouting behind you, they're doing nothing. But yet, Shasney, and I wonder if it is the part of him that doesn't connect with the rhythm of St. Lucia. You know, whether it is through the African heritage, whether it is through the Indian heritage, what is it? You know, it's like the colonial that comes off the ship and they can't understand the Tabu Mele. They don't understand. Why is it that they can do all the motorcade with Guy and Estee and all of them up to yesterday and last night, and they talk about disturbing the peace when you hit your pan, but yet at the same time they are pissed off when we do something which actually follows the protocols much better.
Customers, you find 2 pounds here that start beating our pants in support of show? Yeah.
Things so hard, it almost had to even get a pun in.
Bell, ring the bell, Shasney must go.
Panyo.
This is the same thing of the beating of the pans. Nothing to offer and plenty of noise.
Pan Sunday seemingly struck a discordant chord with Prime Minister Alain Shasney after opposition supporters took to the streets on June 6th, beating pans and demanding a date for the next general elections. With strict pandemic limitations on mass gatherings, the two main political parties are seemingly locked in a kayfabe bout of virtual sparring with consistent jabs thrown via the various multimedia platforms in the public square. Prime Minister Alain Shasney, who took to UWP media on Monday night, took several swipes at the opposition SLP.
Maybe it's just me, St. Lucia, but I think we've reached a point in the story where the con man, the bullshit artist, the used car salesman, aka the boy who cried wolf, it's time that we start ignoring this guy. It's reached a point where all you're getting is the same recycled drivel, all you're getting is the same self-righteous bluster and rhetoric. Guy Joseph coming with the same old antics. We have a plan. the same crap all over again that you see all the time. Then they trot out the same old arguments over and over. And when you demurty them, they just trot them out again and so on. There's no there. Whatever you have to think or whatever you believe with regard to Shasney, if you haven't made up your mind based on the evidence of your life and how you have been treated, even those who are part of the FFF, you know that if you were not getting it good as a matter of preference, how you would feel. So you know that the country is not being governed with any kind of equity and fairness. And it has cost people their businesses, it's costing people their livelihoods, it's costing people their lives in some cases, it's costing people their sight, it's costing people cancer, chemotherapy treatment, it's costing people money that they don't have when it comes to health care. It's costing people all over the country, and people can't see a way forward. And this prick is actually saying that he needs at least 2 terms, he needs at least 10 years to fix the mess that he created, and he missed the opportunity to take care of the St. Lucian people during COVID and instead took care of his people, the FFF, even more, and even right now is doing it more. Now you can say what you want about Philip J. Pierre, but to see a vehicle, for example, careening through party supporters and to encourage both sides to maintain peace, to have spirited debates and to come out and show your love or support for your parties, but not to become violent and confrontational. To have the communications officer for the Labour Party repeat that and publish that, cautioning both sides. And yet, Shasney in 5 years cannot even give a word of caution to United PAC. That pack of lies that always comes out, going after public servants publicly, going after priests, going after former ministers and prime ministers, putting out people's private emails, which is supposed to be something that they talk about, leaks and criminal offenses and spying on people. And now, instead of Shasney denouncing and calling for calm and peace, himself as supposedly a leader, although I know him to be a misleader, instead of doing that, right? He's talking about this like the beating of the pans, rather than saying, hey, look, we don't want to get things out of hand. We've already begun sending vehicles through these processions or throngs, ring the bell style, looking for confrontation, trying to incite violence. But when it gets to the point where you may commit vehicular manslaughter, we know we have taken it too far. Let's tamp it down. But no, not going to happen.
Was the near-fatal June 6 near-miss incident in Bexon a driver's error, or was there criminal intent behind the wheel? One of the prosecutors who narrowly escaped the careening pickup van has accused the driver of attempted murder. Here's Rihani Isidore with that report.
New video of that narrow escape in Mark Bexon has emerged, giving new insight on the unfolding events that sent several Labour Party supporters scampering to safety on a day now known as Pan Sunday. One Bexon resident who says she was among the crowd of supporters recounted the near-fatal ordeal on NBC's Zafenu talk show on June 8th.
The man in the flat van, he stayed about a distance away from us. So, in my mind, I was thinking it was going to be the normal UWPC. When they see the laborers, they come and they join. They want to debate or they want to quarrel. I thought that's what we were going to get.
The situation dramatically escalated. The driver of a grey pickup van, registration number TB4890, and adorning the political colors of the United Workers' Party, appeared to speed up, approaching a group of people wearing opposition colors on a street in Mark. A potential capital offense was narrowly averted when the roadside protesters scurried out of the driver's way. The driver of that grey pickup van, giving his version of events to the Zafir New hosts, accused the opposition protesters of vandalism and damaging Flubbo flagpoles. His account has been refuted by one of the near-miss victims. They accuse him of attempted murder.
We just heard like an engine revving after he reversed. And when I looked, I just saw the man coming towards us full force. This thing about breaking a flag, that never happened. At what point in time people were running for their lives?
Cell phone video also captured another motor vehicle, a truck with a Guy Joseph poster plastered on the back, driving through the crowd without incident. Seconds later, the pickup with passengers in the cab careened through the crowd.
The man literally tried to kill us with his vehicle.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to add to say? Is there anything else you'd like to say?
To be honest, I want to call out the rep, Guy Joseph, to say something, because at the end of the day, yes, we did not support you in the last election, but you are the rep of our constituency, and one of your operators tried to kill us with his vehicle. We need you to say something.
Police say video evidence in this incident is still not enough to pursue a criminal investigation. They need witnesses to come forward with information or make a formal complaint, which as of June 8th has not happened. The Labour Party has condemned the incident. Conversely, there has been no word from the UWP or the Castries South East MP on the almost deadly near-miss incident.
We can win this war. Get vaccinated. We're taking our life back. Get vaccinated. The COVID-19 vaccination drive is mobile and coming to you. Taking the 2 doses of the safe and effective AstraZeneca vaccine is our part to take St. Lucia back. Visit the Ministry of Health and Wellness and Bureau of Health Education Facebook pages to find out the vaccination time and venue nearest to you. Bring personal identification, and if you already have your first dose, bring your COVID-19 vaccination card when getting the second. Get vaccinated. This message is brought to you by the Bureau of Health Education of the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
UTV. I know you got it. If you identify with the most pulsating, the most riveting, the most eye-capturing UTV. To advertise with UTV, dial 484-7588 or 572-7588. For some of the most competitive rates, amazing programming, and bang for your buck. The most popular streaming channel, UTV 124 on Facebook. Get it now. Check us out on Instagram at UTV 124. Email us utvslu@gmail.com. UTV. It's not just for me. It's definitely TV for you.
Watching UTV, TV for you.
Alright, we're here with Senator Gideon Ferdinand, candidate for Miku South, and Jeremiah Norwood, candidate for Miku North. Alright, so we can see there's a lot of noise in our background. It means that the people are really revving up. So, Jeremiah, welcome to Miku South. And tell us how you feel about coming to Miku South.
Yeah, man, the vibe, the energy. It's there, man. It's there.
Alright. That's right.
Game must go! Shots must go! Game must go!
Now, while that happened, the fact is that there are a lot of people who were not seen, who were not necessarily heard, and you have to sometimes go out and see what the vibe is on the ground. And for me, while we were pressed for time to go all over to cover as much as we could, there was also the part where you wanted to at least try to get a sense of the mood on the ground. And obviously with the excitement in the different towns and villages, you got people wanting to talk. People were speaking about the hot topic, which is obviously the elections. So I'm going to give you two perspectives of two ladies who are friends and also live in the Miku North community, so that you can get an idea of both sides of the divide.
They have no work for young people, no work for people. When they try to come from secondary school, how many of them out of a job? We don't have no export, we don't have no factory, we don't have nothing. There are people that working as cooks in the school, and when they come from work, they still have to do a hustle on the road, sell ice lolly, sell things, sell juice, sell jam, sell fudge, sell all kind of things to make an extra dollar. It's a one-way street. One contract, one everything. Some people getting work, one set of people, I just do nothing. Step alone they give me, and I work for my step, and I not nothing yet. I not nothing for me to vote. I have no reason to vote yet. I have no reason to vote. That's not no reason for me to vote. I am ready to vote. We in Miku North, we need a change. We need a change. That color coordinated thing has to stop. I don't mind they vote independence, but that yellow thing, everybody, no, that needs to stop. Independence, whatever, the green, the yellow, the red, something has to change, something has to be done. I tired of that La Jaunisse flambeau. Flambeau at 10 Miku, flambeau at 10.
So that's one perspective. And right in the same vicinity, right next to her, here's another perspective.
I'm satisfied with the Chasney government. We have done well for the 5 years, and I'm looking forward to another 5 years and more. Yes, I am enthusiastic. I rate Chasney 100%. Everything he has done, I give him the 100%. He dealt with the COVID well, and I'm satisfied. I am impressed with Gail. Girl, we have been neglected for the past how many years, and with Gail Rigobert, we have done quite well. We've got the health center we have been searching for, we've got the field, we've got the only thing we have not gotten on the Gail Rigobert is the jetty, and we are looking forward to it.
Okay, well the jetty is a floating jetty. It's not a... No.
It don't matter, I'm not a fisherman, so I don't know much about the floating jetty and not the floating jetty. But I feel whatever jetty the fishermen got, they will be satisfied.
Okay, so you said that you've gotten, so the Gail has done a lot of projects recently, right? But Gail was in for not only the 5 years, but she also was the leader of the opposition before.
Yes.
So what about those times?
Well, because before she was in opposition, so
and
right now she's in position. I am satisfied with what she have done.
So what about the other 4 years before that?
Before that, like I said, she was in opposition.
No, she was in government for 4 years.
I know that, yes, in government. But I'm satisfied. Before that, everything has its process. Everything don't work at the same pace.
So you don't have an issue if things take 5 years each time to happen.
Whenever it is done, it is done. That is me.
Whenever it is done, it is done. Folks, are we going to have an honest discussion, or are we not going to, about the way that St. Lucians have been conditioned over time by certain forces to believe that they are only worthy of getting attention around election time, to believe that it is just the amount of money that is the insult with regard to buying your vote, as opposed to offering you money in the first place, especially when most times the money is yours and it's their ill-gotten gains. When people can tell you, for example, the most amazing thing that I found in Miku was when I pointed out to people who both supported Gale and did not support Gale, when I pointed out to them that Gale's projects are all being done with IMF money meant for them, didn't really ring a bell. That the income support money that they needed, some of them said that's not true up to now, even though it's clearly very documented and verifiable. That in the projects that she's done, they all include conflict of interest of her brother or her uncle or some family member. And you know what they said? They said, almost in unison, charity begins at home. And then you have to ask yourself something, St. Lucia. In the same way that when you go down to Labrie, you find almost a level of pride in intelligence and the Labrie Credit Union and that spirit of working together. Labrie is the first community in St. Lucia to have its own tour outside of the general tourism efforts that the government makes. A sense of independence. That's why they say the People's Republic of Labrie. I don't know, but I get the sense in terms of Miku that corruption is so normalized and being neglected is so normalized that, for example, when I went down to Miku under Labour administration to do a project in Miku in terms of to create the equivalent of a Groseley Friday night that the people of Miku in collaboration with the ministry and the creative industries call Miku Borta every Thursday, and I worked with Gail Rigobert, who asked for an extra 3 weeks of that said event type style thing, and a little bit of infrastructure that we put by the waterfront and everything down by Cemetery Road and all the rest of that, just as a pilot. That the people kept telling me, why are you doing this? In the sense that they couldn't understand why a Labour Party administration would even shit on them, because they figured that's all they deserved. And when you told them anything, they would say, Miku people, as if there's almost a feeling that they don't deserve anything, so anything that they get is manna from heaven. Do they care really about Gail stealing, or Gail and the condos and the villas, or anything that she's done, or the conflict of interest? Well, like I said, what do they tell you? They tell you both, on both sides, they say, charity begins at home. So then let's get to the jetty part of a community that is primarily based on fishing and agriculture. That's the economics of it, right? They have been overlooked in terms of the tourism product, in terms of people going way past them. For some reason, I've never understood the houses face primarily the road, when the fantastic, awesome beauty of Miku are the bays. Right? Spectacular views, something that looks like it should be, you know, something you almost wish there were condos and all kinds of stuff. But again, integrated development for me. And all of that said, I ask, in truth, doesn't it pass you all strange? That Miku does not have a fish market. Miku does not have a fisheries complex. It doesn't have a jetty. It doesn't have anything. And then you ask yourself, well, all the time Gail was building her villas, if she has people like that last lady there who doesn't care as long as they get something, even if it's in the 11th hour or the 12th hour in this case, then maybe Gail and Spider and all of them are right for ignoring people and checking for largesse for themselves, giving contracts to their sons and brother and uncle and all the rest of that so that they can get their kickbacks, and ignoring the people for 5 years. If you have somebody that is taking advantage of you, after a while, it has to be you that is the reason why you are being taken advantage of as well, because you are endorsing it and accepting it.
The economy is very bad towards the fishermen. Yeah.
Well, we need a jetty, a guy to help us if we have a gas station close to us, because most of the time when we come from sea, late, we never have a gas station probably until early in the morning. And because of it, we don't have a gas station by the seaside, that I'm like a big money we have to make money.
They're not taking fish not selling. So, as you could see, all boats packed in the room there. All boats on the anchor. As you could see. They still give us a chance to respond for that.
They keep with us with some major problems here, you know, because, for instance, first to begin, we don't have a jetty. Every morning when I man get up to go to sea, or like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, even 2 o'clock if I want to leave early to get the early morning time. When I man get up like 1 o'clock, 1:30, 2 o'clock, I cannot go in the sea 2:30, 3 o'clock. That will kill me, because watch that. When you see where you see that boat, that boat is there right now. As you see it's there, you see it shallow, but when you get up early in the morning to go on that boat, all your waist height don't get wet already, so that already kill it. If we have a jetty, when we come, we can walk on it, go down our boat. When we come down, we run the fish. It's much better, but watch an example. The beach was clean. Look, seaweed already coming back in, and every morning man have to walk in that. Man have to land the fish in that. You expect somebody to come and buy fish, and seeing really fishermen handling fish, and we letting the fish that the old stagnant water and all them kind of thing. You expect to buy that same fish, you expect somebody to come and buy that fish, and we don't even have a proper market to sell our fish when we come from sea. So I believe it's time for them to do something, man. So I myself, I personally tired with them man's stupidness, because I am a fisherman for the past 28 years and I am 41. It's a long time I there on this place and nothing is changing, nothing happening. I'm tired of them fellas, man.
I want to see a jetty for the fishermen. I want to see something for the fishermen to recreate better than how they are going to see now.
We would like to see we have a jetty, to tell the truth. Because I tell myself early morning, 3 o'clock in the morning every day I have to wake up early to go and tie my boat. Just now when I turn certain age, I can do nothing again. I have really, I can walk, I can be jogging, I can do nothing. So that's the thing I want to see in my eyes for the time.
I am a boat owner, and every time I come from sea, if you see I don't have a buyer to buy my fish, I stick in at it. I have to go and buy ice. I have to ice it and try and get a transport to go and sell it, or pay somebody to go and sell it, on which I still have to go fishing. When the Japanese give us a fish market, they turn it a fish market to us. What we do, you go and privatize the fish market for your father, and what them man doing? Nothing. They're not buying fish. If them man buy fish for 1 week, they're not buying for the other 2 weeks, or the whole month they're buying fish. And when they buy, what do you get it? The price is not right. The price is not right.
You know, the Fish Corporation, you know full well the impact it is having on the fishermen, that they're all under the bush selling fish. You know that. You expect them to be in a good mood, Mr. Speaker? Absolutely not. They cannot be in a good mood.
Them politicians as well embarrass themselves, boy. Gel, after 4 years, you refuse to give Miku the jetty. Et dimanche, Gel Miku ka bay un péché code, so ça m'a bote yo gis d'or. So Gel, le m'a bote yo gis d'or. Comment ka le pou bote la gis d'or, hein? Plus fou du ka bay un gwen yo, hein? Pour tu pas avoir jetty bay Jean Miku Gel. Magie, hein?
So to that United Workers Party supporter, the lady in Miku North, I know that she has no clue that it is actually as a result of me going into Miku in January and showing a number of times people down there complaining about the lack of a jetty, that they've come up with this piecemeal last-minute solution of a floating jetty. If a floating jetty was so good, why hasn't it been employed in all the other places where we put up solid jetties, for lack of a better way to put it? And then the other question is, do we really want a floating jetty on the Atlantic side? Are we not supposed to know that the currents are different in terms of that. How many marinas have you seen, and how many? That's okay. All right. So let's see how this goes.
Fisherfolk were recently met by SLP candidate for Miku North, Jeremiah Norbert, for dialogue on long-standing issues facing the fishers. Chief among these discussions, according to former Agriculture Minister Moses Musa Jean-Baptiste, was what he says was the unfulfilled ruling UWP administration's pledge to deliver a jetty in Miku North.
The fishers continue to be very concerned about the fact that almost 5 years after the United Workers' Party came into office in 2016, they have not been given, or they have not received the promised jetty, which has been spoken about for so many years.
Jean-Baptiste claims that the fishers focused their attention on the jetty constructed by the SLP in Prale at Miku North as an example of what they desired in their community.
As the former minister with responsibility for fisheries, I explained to the fishers the processes that were involved in the construction of the jetty at Prale, and how we were able to work with the Taiwanese government to construct a jetty under a Labour Party government for the residents of Miku North. I also explained to them the plans which were already in train for the Japanese government to build a modern facility at the Miku village and at the landing site.
The former Minister for Agriculture claims talk of a floating jetty at the Miku Bay has piqued the interest of the fishers and has left them with more questions than answers.
They had many questions about the floating jetty, and we had several angles on it. We had discussions on it, and it is very clear that the fishers have not been properly briefed on what the government promised to do for them.
As the 5-year mark of the last general election draws near, Jean-Baptiste has called on the UWP government to deliver on its promises.
Not only that these fishers are continuing to pay the $1.50 in the fuel tax, and the Fish Marketing Corporation has been privatized, but in the situation with the Miku fishers, we see them continuing to suffer 5 years after this government came into office, and the parliamentary rep promised them that they would get the jetty.
The former Agriculture Minister gave assurances that a St. Lucia Labour Party government would play a more active role in the Fish Marketing Corporation and provide more attention to the fisher folk.
Now I understand it, I get it. The people of Miku North have become so socialized in staying behind. You hear the stories where they say, the UWP used to tell them back in the day they had to do for the country before they could do for you. And Shasney comes and he says that he can't do for them before he does for Vieux Fort, because that's the communal spot or whatever. How does that work? Now the Belrose doctrine part of it is the one that amazes me. So Shasney and them say that they marginalized Castries East because they did not vote. And even if they did vote UWP, not enough people voted UWP, so they were not willing to participate in the vision of Chasney. So they have been victimized even though they pay taxes as well. Here you have a community that has stayed loyal to the UWP from beginning to now. And yet they are very happy that they themselves have said that they have been neglected. But you have somebody who's saying that they're happy to get whatever they get, whenever they get it, even if it's at the last minute. Basically endorsing being treated like every 4 years, be ignored, while in the 5th year to rush. And now the rush is to give a jetty. But to show you, when people talk about, Philip Pierre, what has he done and this and the other. Here's a perfect example of the Labour Party in a seat that it has never won. Right? Not using the Belrose doctrine of Chasney and the UWP, and respecting the fact that there are fishers, there are taxpayers, there are human beings, there are St. Lucians living in constituencies which did not support them, And they still put in infrastructure projects, just like you have the schools, just like you have the fire stations, and so on. And they did not wait for the 5th year. So, last election was 2016, right? Let's go to the year 2014 to see exactly what the Fishers are talking about. And another project that was done, another jetty that was done in Prale.
Groundbreaking ceremony for the construction of a jetty for Savans Bay on Thursday. Billed as a world-class jetty, replete with solar panels and modern conveniences, the much-needed infrastructure is expected to herald a new day in fishing for the community. Earlier this week, government confirmed that the Taiwanese embassy had already handed over most of the funds necessary to undertake the project. The balance of the funds was handed over to the government on Thursday. Taiwanese Ambassador James Chang says the jetty will make life easier for those who depend on the sea to feed their families.
He says those jetties will facilitate the landing of marine products by farmers in the fishing industry. Fishers will now have safe and convenient access to their fishing vessels and also provide safe mooring during times of rough seas. The sanitation conditions of the fishing area will be improved due to the proper fish landing facilities.
Fisheries Minister Moses Jabati says government is responding to the needs and appeals of the island's fishermen. He says the jetty project is a historic one, which will make life easier and safer for fishermen.
The people who will benefit from this jetty are the people who are here every day, and their families, and the communities, and the country. You are the ones, we are the ones who will benefit from this jetty. So we want to make sure that we do it properly. As parliamentary representative for Beaufort North, I'm very proud of this moment. Not because I'm the minister with responsibility for fisheries, but because I know this project will benefit the people of Beaufort North and St. Lucians generally.
According to Infrastructure Minister Philip J. Peer, the vital development for the fishing industry will be complete in 4 months. He says it will modernize the business and keep fishermen competitive.
The government is sensitive to the plight of the fishers at these bays. We heard their cry. We felt the anxiety and the frustration. We promised that we will improve their conditions, and now we are ready to deliver. Let me hasten to add to the skeptics and the doubting Thomases that the material for the construction has already begun to arrive in the island. These jetties will provide the opportunity to create and consolidate linkages between 2 major industries, tourism and agriculture.
The first disbursement of funds for the Prale and Savans Bay jetties was made in January 2014. For the fishermen of Savans Bay who work hard year-long, the jetty is expected to make life easier and operations, including fish landing, a lot less taxing.
So to that lady, the Micoud North UWP supporter of Gale and Shastney and so on, the point that I'm making to you is this. You have been conditioned to accept less to the point where you are getting projects that if people like myself did not go down to Micoud and capture the voices of these people and make a stink about it, would not even be happening. What's even worse is that you are willing to accept being treated that way when you yourself have said that Micoud was neglected for generations, and considering it has always been a UWP seat, what is the message that you should be getting? What you also can realize is that unlike Shastney and them that will victimize, target and marginalize communities that don't support them, that the Labour Party, and you've seen there, demonstrated in Micoud North, the same constituency, that when they are in office, they will do projects in Micoud North, even though they have never won it and have not had a realistic chance of winning it until maybe now. So what it means is, Micoud North, that whether you support the Labour Party or not, if they get into office, they will still govern fairly, You don't have to go walk on faith or walk by faith. It's proven. There is a project right there. And at the same time, the MP can put a little park for her mother opposite her family home. She can build her villas for herself, buy her Chevy Colorado and a Hilux cash, and do all of that for 4 years. Travel all over. She has traveled as much, if not more, than Chasney, given all kinds of contracts to her family and everything. And now at the last minute, you get in a floating jetty. Well, I mean, it's up to you all. There are pros and cons to everything. So let's take a look at a floating jetty. To me, just a layman, I'm telling you, that just looks like what they should do is just take all the gas cans, all the jerry cans from all the fishers and just rope them together. That's basically what it looks like to me. And I'm not saying there aren't practicalities to having a floating jetty, but I'm just thinking, on a serious note, is this being done for political expediency now, at the last minute, the 12th hour and 4 days? Is it that? Or is this really the practical solution for the people who have been asking for a jetty for decades? And Gail had time to take care of her 2 condos, her 2 villas, her 2 vans, right? But at the same time, now, I don't know. And in the meantime, other practical issues remain.
What's your Miku fishing port? You mean to tell me so many f***ing years y'all put in one government and they can't give y'all a proper fishing port? They can't build a fish pond for y'all? Check that. Check what the fishermen from Miku have to go through. F***ing hell, boy. Y'all see that, boss?
Now you know what? Let's go back to the same lady who readily accepts, like most supporters of this government do, that they can do nothing but check for themselves and their friends and their family for 4 years and then come back. When you say whenever you get it, it's good. Think about all the electronics. Think about all the fishing. Think about all how the economy has stagnated. Because here you have an example of something that Gail has done nothing about with regard to the seaweed, except for paying for people to do beach cleanups every now and then through the village council. Not a solution by any means. And people like me, from when I was on talk shows like Politically Incorrect on Choice 2 years ago, 3 years ago, have been pointing out that we are not the only island, we are not the only country, we are not the only part of the world that has a problem with the sargassum seaweed, and there are solutions. Seaweed booms. that you can buy for 100,000 US, stretch a mile long, still allow fish and other things to go through, but they would block off the seaweed and give the fishers in a fishing community and the fishing economy a chance to sustain itself. Instead, you got Zara Villas.
The pristine beaches and crystal clear waters of the Caribbean may be unrivaled the world over. Nearly 4 million people a year travel from the U.S. to Cancun for vacation each year. Another 2 million from other countries, including Europe and Canada. But all of that is now under threat from the newest manifestation of a changing planet, seaweed. It is the biggest algae bloom in the world. Massive waves of seaweed called sargassum washing up on shore day after day.
This beach was just cleaned today.
Yes. A couple of hours and the seaweed will be on the beach again.
Jose Escalante has owned a small hotel in Tulum, Mexico for 8 years. Every day, workers here and up and down the Yucatan Peninsula remove tons and tons of decomposing sargassum from beaches. Every night, it comes back. Rosa Rodriguez Martinez from Mexico's National University is trying to figure out why.
We are getting sargassum almost from March to October, so basically more than half of the year we receive massive amounts.
Whereas before it was how long?
Before maybe 2 or 3 weeks during the summer.
That's a huge difference.
Yes, it's impressive.
Impressive is one word for it. A problem, big problem is another.
It's a problem, economical problem, ecological, and probably human health problem also.
Since 2011, the amount of sargassum in the Atlantic has increased dramatically. It currently forms a 5,000-mile mass from Africa to the Caribbean. It is estimated to weigh 22 million tons.
Why is it so bad right now?
I think it's because we have polluted the sea too much. So now we have a lot of nutrients and the algae are taking advantage of it.
Fertilizer runoff from Brazil, increased by deforestation, is believed to be the largest fuel source for the sargassum. That, combined with warming ocean water and changing ocean currents, has put the Yucatan squarely in the crosshairs. It has gotten so bad the Mexican Navy has just been put in charge of dealing with this problem. They took us up on a reconnaissance mission to locate the largest sargassum waves.
Now, we're all used to the picture postcard images of the Caribbean palm trees, lush forests as well, and of course beautiful beaches. This year, though, well, some parts of the Caribbean coast have looked nothing like a dream holiday destination. Dozens of tons of algae have swamped the turquoise waters in several areas full of tourists. It's a floating and mobile algae called sargassum that breeds pretty rapidly and is invading the water at an alarming rate. Well, scientists believe it's the result of rising ocean temperatures and pollution from fertiliser, which has run off into the sea. France 24's Laurence Cavillier and Mathieu Comin have this report.
The Riviera Maya, turquoise water, white sand, looks just like a postcard. Its dreamy beaches have been laced with rotting brown algae since April. More piles up there every day. In Cancun's hotel zone, workers take to the beach every morning to fight the invasion or turn it into decoration.
The first few days we were here, it was really pretty heavy, so we weren't able to get in the water. But it seems to be a lot more clear today.
We're going out to try to intercept the currents that are bringing the sargassum back towards the Mexican coast.
The government's hired a private company to put an 8-kilometer-long floating barrier around the hotel zone.
We're going to catch the sargassum and redirect it with the strong ocean currents so that it can continue its life cycle elsewhere. It's a way of preserving the ecosystem around the coast.
That's because the explosion of sargassum turns the water opaque, blocking photosynthesis and oxygenation in the coral systems below. Waves of sargassum first appeared in 2013 and 2015, but this year's onslaught has broken all records.
protocols for international visitors while in St. Lucia. The following protocols are established to guide the stay of all guests while on island in order to mitigate any possible spread of infection. During the first 14 days, visitors are allowed to patronize approved beaches, restaurant, sea and land excursions, and sites and attractions. All visits are scheduled and pre-arranged by their respective accommodation providers. During this period, all visitors will be transported to and from the certified sites using only COVID-19 certified tourism transportation. After the first 14 days, if any visitor wishes to stay on island beyond the 14-day period, they must apply for and receive a health clearance certificate from the Ministry of Health. Visitors will be allowed to travel, be out in the wider public and patronize local businesses unsupervised once health clearance certificates have been received. During their entire stay, visitors must wear their masks whenever they are in public places and maintain the mandatory 6 feet distancing from others.
Thanks for tuning in to your favorite content creator, UTV. To find out more, follow us on our social media platforms: YouTube UTV124, Facebook UTV124, Instagram UTV124, Twitch UTV124, TikTok UTV_124, and Flow TV channel 124. Remember, UTV, TV for you.
This is Keezy from the Hotspot, and you're watching UTV.
The coronavirus had delayed a lot of things.
Correct.
And so, and the Honorable Guy Joseph made the announcement on numerous occasions. He had made it heard that St. Jude's will be open before the next elections.
Yes.
Now, I'm not the Honorable Guy Joseph. I am not down at St. Jude's, but I've been there on 2 occasions. A lot of work has been done. And I don't want to speak for the Honorable Guy Joseph. I'm speaking from my own, based on what I saw, my observations. A lot of work has been done. It's a huge building, a beautiful, huge building. But based on the delays, that's Champagne speaking, not the minister, I don't think that St. Jude's will be open before the elections if we have to look at 6 months. That is me speaking, that is not the minister speaking, that is not you, that is just me, based on what I saw. And I'm still not a contractor. I am just saying, I could be wrong.
Tell you something, I buy what you're saying, Champagne, but also there are different ways to run a business.
Yeah.
You went down to St. Jude's, there are 3 different structures.
Yes.
That's just me again. I have not discussed them out with anybody. As a layman, I've been there maybe I haven't been there for 3 weeks for the last time, but I get pictures of where they are.
Right.
Okay. There are ways and means that you can have what you call a soft opening, whereby you can concentrate on a certain area.
Okay.
Because I think, from what I'm being told, that St. Jude's has something like 50 patients or something like that. I don't know.
That's the George Adams Stadium.
Yeah, at the George.
Yeah. They may be.
That's not a lot of people. Okay.
Yes.
And there are areas that I'm not saying it can, I'm not saying it will be done.
Yes.
These are all possibilities, okay? They are but I buy what you say.
Yes.
It's a lot of work to be done
a lot.
as a result of the delays. But more importantly, the very Canadians who came to assist us. Yeah, 1 second. St. Lucia, just give us 2 minutes, please. We have a little problem with our air conditioner.
Yes,
gentleman,
I think it's a gentleman.
Hello.
Brother Peter, yeah, you could ask.
Hello. Come.
Yeah, we're having a little issue with our air conditioning in St. Lucia. We just called in a technician to see if he could get it rectified.
I
just wanted to say, Champagne,
yes.
You have to be careful what statements you make, because
I was speaking on my personal opinion.
Yeah, but when I said that the Prime Minister should call elections at the end of September this year, I gave my reason. I didn't say that they should wait a whole year. I said because of the coronavirus and the way it has kept back the progress of the country in every way possible, that the Prime Minister should use the facilities which the Constitution allows him
yes.
to take the 90 day, okay, and declare, listen, this is like a state of emergency. We must open St. Jude. The people have suffered sufficient in that place. We have to do certain things. So I am going to call election. He doesn't have to tell me that, or you, or even his father. He on his own as Prime Minister can say, listen, we have been in need of extra time because of the problems we have had with COVID. So we are going to call the elections, which are constitutionally due, by the way, from what Dr. Anthony's lawyer, which is Claudius Francis, said. So certainly in early July. But then I would add August, September, October. So Michael might be right. I would call it at the end of October. for that.
Now, beyond the fact that nobody can explain to me what gives Sir Michael Chasney the authority to tour all of government's projects and to get internal documents and access in the way that he does, the other point is you can see them actively, obviously, talking about how to fool the people with regard to St. Jude's as an election project, because they know that it's of consequence to the nation what they've done with regard to St. Jude's. Well, as you can see, what they've told the young people to do is lie.
Welcome to the hotspot, and I'm the host who will be definitely doing the most, your boy Kwan.
And I'm your girl Z. We do know, Kwan, that proper healthcare remains the #1 priority for the government of St. Lucia.
Indeed, it is,
and
Kizzy.
over the past year, Kwan, we did see the move from Victoria Hospital to the OKEU Hospital, which provided much more medical opportunities for our citizens here in St. Lucia, Kwan. And let me tell you, the buzz about St. Jude's, Kwan, finally, as a citizen of the South,
everybody's talking about it.
I feel elated that we are
Kizzy,
finally nearing completion of St. Jude's Hospital, Kwan. And we did, one of our roaming hosts, Joshua, did have the opportunity to go down there to speak to some of the employees on their experience. And let me tell you, it's a privilege to be working on a state-of-the-art hospital. So let's head on down to Joshua to see what he was able to capture with the employees down there.
Hey guys, you know who it is. I'm Joshua Harry here at the construction site of the St. Jude Hospital. We're currently here to see what's happening and all the progress that is being made. And to interview, I have a lovely young lady who's going to be joining me to discuss what's going on at the premises.
Hey guys, my name is Whitney Willie. I've been employed here as a site technician assistant for over a year.
Still at the construction site of the St. Jude Hospital. And next to me is Shem William, who is working on site here to make sure this hospital comes to fruition. So thank you for joining us. What is your experience working here at the construction of the St. Jude Hospital?
I've been employed here for about a year and a half. And over the past year, I realized that over 500 persons have been employed on this project. And young persons, that is, mostly young persons.
Well, the experience working here at St. Jude's Hospital has been one of growth and of hope, because it's been a while that we've been wanting and needing this hospital here, and we definitely now we have something of substance, we have something that has great promise, and something that is finally giving us the hope.
And that is something that is very beautiful that you said, because there are a lot of people who are seeking hope right now, who are facing unemployment. So with the construction of this hospital, do you believe that it has actually catered to some level of unemployment in the community or in St. Lucia?
Yes, it has. It has with the community, with the South. When we began, the majority of our workers here are from the South, and we worked even right through the entire COVID pandemic. We've been at it, we've been employed. Our numbers have not decreased. We've been keeping it steady. So yes, I believe it has helped a lot of persons through even the pandemic right now.
And as you say that there are a lot of young people or a lot of individuals who are here from the South, with this hospital being built, do you think that it will provide some aspect of economic development to the southern hemisphere of St. Lucia?
Yes, of course. I do believe that this would help. It is I think it is evident right now. You understand? Again, with the pandemic, you look at what's going on, you don't find as many people crying the way that they would. It's not felt the way that it is felt majority of the other places, because again, we're here, we're working at it, and you know, everybody has something to look forward to.
Thank you, Shem Williams, again for joining us on this discussion on the hotspot, and thank you for always speaking of hope, because you mentioned that a lot of times. It's always good to have faith, to have a hope, because you never know what's going to come and happen next, you know. So keep the inspiration. And Shem, before you go, do you have any message that you want to give out to our viewers?
You know, we need to come together a bit more. We need to wait and support, you know, just wait and know that something is coming. It's in the pipelines and it's for the better, you know. So you have to wait, you know, wait and see what happens.
I would really like to advise young people to, you know, keep the faith, keep going, don't give up no matter what.
You're here at Unity and Prosperity for a Resilient Nation, Independence 2021. We still on and the journey continues. So back to you, Kizzy and Kwan in the studio and reporting live from the construction site in the south. Back to you in the studio, ladies.
Thank you so much for that, Joshua. It looks like you had a wonderful time in Viewfort. And don't forget to tune in next week, guys, for another interesting episode of Newsflash.
Let me tell you, Kizzy, St. Jude's looks fantastic. We hear people talking about the Pearl of the Caribbean in the south. I think St. Jude's on its own will be the Pearl of the Caribbean. It looks absolutely incredible.
Indeed,
world-class
Kwan.
facility, and I'm
Indeed,
excited.
it does.
Being a resident of Dennery, it will be my absolute pleasure to head down there when I am feeling ill. So again, kudos to the government of St.
It will be your absolute pleasure when you get sick. You want to get sick so you can go to St. Jude. Boy, sometimes I can tell you, they pick the right people to do these jobs. Messieurs. You know how moronic you have to be. I don't care what age you are for you to say something like that. And that's good PR, eh? Boy, that's the real Pearl of the Caribbean. I can't wait till I get sick for me to go to St. Jude's. Now you notice the color scheme is different, eh? There's a lot of yellow on the outside of the building now, and you look at the renderings, that was not what it was. But folks, when they talk about the job creation, they don't tell you that the average carpenter, mason, or steel bender that would get paid $150 to $180 a day was being made to work there for $50 a day. That all the time they were telling you, and Norbert and them were going down and filming about the jobs and the jobs and the jobs. Within 2-3 months, all that has stopped, and the primary workers there are all Fresh Start workers, and most of Fresh Start's workers always come from Guy Joseph's constituency. Connect the dots. But what's even worse is that they are straight up repeating lies, telling you when even you're hearing it from Michael Shastney, you're hearing it from Champagne, they know they cannot finish St. Jude's. And Kenny Anthony paid a dear price, the Labour Party paid a price for not finishing St. Jude's. The UWP held their feet to the fire over not finishing St. Jude's, and there was palpable rage and anger at Kenny Anthony for not finishing St. Jude's. I always wish he had had the money, the $60+ million that he had to spend to buy back the Black Bay lands that Shastney lost, because I'm sure if he had that $60 million, he could have completed St. Jude's. But now, all of a sudden, they're trying to make out like it's not such a big deal, or, wait, y'all young people that went there, y'all saw a hospital, nice glug, colors on the outside, colors on the inside, a big, why do they call it a big warehouse or big parking lot? Because the whole building has no water, no electricity. They have to stick it in the subterranean infrastructure of nitrogen, oxygen, the connectivity of a hospital. A hospital is a living machine, as was explained to me by John Peters. It must be built sequentially. It must follow a pattern. You cannot just take any building and call it. In fact, don't worry, because I have this government's own PR, when they themselves said that even after this, there are still more phases to come.
We're looking at a new projected completion date of sometime in mid-July. That's for the structural phase, which is the actual skeleton of the building. Okay, once the structural phase is complete, we'll move to the second phase of the project, which is the cladding phase. And then there's another phase, which is the MEP, which is mechanical, electrical, and plumbing phase. And once MEP and cladding is complete, then there comes finishing and civil works phase of the project, which is roads and the final completion of the project.
So you heard it from the government itself, their own engineers, that after the cladding phase, which incredibly and irresponsibly is putting cladding on the sides without having walls, when one is not supposed to be without the other. The government buildings has cladding on it, but it has the walls first. And for a hospital must always be built to a higher standard, because in the event of a natural disaster, hurricane, a tsunami, an earthquake, any of these things, a hospital is the last place of refuge, not a school, not a church, but actually a hospital. It has to stand up to everything and anything, but instead we just screw it in cladding on the sides of the building. And then you have to put what, hypoxia or whatever to seal off all the air, and you'll have constant problems with mold because of the temperature changes from the inside and outside, because it must be air conditioned. But that's for another show, because here you have them telling you that after this phase, you still have, that's the cladding phase which they are in now, they still have mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. So in other words, they've built a building which does not have the necessary mechanical stuff to put the oxygen through and other gases. They do not have electrical, and they do not have the plumbing. The foundation of the building was poured without having the plumbing. That's why it's called a glorified box. That's what it is, and it's built to be a level 4 polyclinic, a district hospital, not a general hospital, which was what the Stephenson King and Kenny Anthony leadership or prime ministership or terms were building towards in the other structure. But that said, here comes Guy Joseph changing his tune as of Sunday.
Economic Development Minister and Castries Southeast MP Guy Joseph had made a promise that the government would deliver on St. Jude before the end of its term in office. With the 5-year anniversary of the election observed on Sunday, some say that promise is looking very elusive. Joseph addressed the issue of St. Jude on the Flambeau Forum on Sunday night.
From St. Jude Hospital, they were trying to do something again, no plan. That's why I tell you, you must have a plan. If you have no plan, then they say you have planned to fail already. So, we have a plan. We did not try to make a makeshift hospital for the people. We decided that based on what we inherited, that there was no plan for, and we could not bring it to be what the people of Vieux-Fort deserved, we decided, let us build a new St. Jude Hospital. Not just a better hospital, but a new hospital for the people of the South. So I want to maybe curtail my presentation at this point in time to say that this Flambeau government, under this Flambeau leader, has a plan, not just for today, but a plan for the future.
Yep, not just a plan, not just a con plan for today, but a con plan for the future. Because here's the problem, folks. After they've borrowed over $80 million to do this new building, they have not gone through the other phases, and we have not even spoken about accreditation, which will most probably take years of making them restructure the building any which way. On top of that, they've run out of money. But Guy, Fresh Start, Mangal, all of the hordes of the FFF have gotten it good while the people have another ridiculous project which might look nice from the outside, but is fundamentally not a hospital.
To say that we didn't know that we were going to find ourselves in this situation, of course, would be a bit of a fallacy, because we knew exactly that we were going to have some very biting financial difficulties at this point in time. And what most countries did, and in fact, what is generally recommended when you find yourself in significant cash flow situations where your revenue has gone down, and you're hearing individuals like the Prime Minister's attaché, Mr. Norbert Williams of Bowtie fame, coming out and saying that, you know, well, we were so dependent on tourism, and so therefore you had to expect that we were going to have a big hit on our economy and, of course, on our revenue. And, of course, we expected that, because that is what many, many people have been warning about and talking about for a very long time. Putting all your eggs in one basket, and then it would appear that, especially with our tourism guru of a prime minister, that we wanted to pile on even more eggs into that basket. And the warnings were, but look at what's going on. It's a very tenuous type of sector, very fickle. The same warnings were given when we were talking about why the IMF, why the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, other multilaterals were advising not to go the route of taking on debt for the Iwanor International Airport, and saying, look, do it in a cautious way, enter into a public-private partnership. You don't have to take on the risk. You don't have to take on more debt. But clearly, none of that, all of that went to the wind in terms of advice. And what we saw was that instead of at the point where we got to COVID-19, we knew it was going to get bad. We knew that the projections were, even at that time, coming out of the ECCB and the others, were in fact not even going to be the true extent. And I remember talking about that from back then and saying that, look, we are likely to face a contraction in the economy somewhere in the region of 20 to 30%. Lo and behold, it has happened. Revenue is down. We've known this has happened. Cables are up because government can't meet its basic running payments to people, whether it's to pay rent in whoever's building, whether it's to ensure that services that you've got to pay for, whether it's to keep medicines in the pharmacies at VH and Soufriere Hospital and St. Jude, all of those things, making payments to various persons, such as transfers to the persons who are on social assistance. All of those things are behind because we clearly did not say, hey, let's take a pause. Let's slow down on the capital spending so that we can have the financial space, the fiscal room, so that we can maneuver and we can ensure that the monies that we are going towards what are priorities at this time. And we talk about households, and it is it is almost as if a household is facing one of the members. You've got two persons in a household, perhaps, a mom and a dad, and the dad has just lost his work, his job, and so you've got half the income in the household coming in, and then the dad is saying, you know what, I'm going to go out and buy a Lamborghini. That's effectively what we are doing at this time in terms of the kind of spending that we're seeing. Right? And it's not sustainable, and we're going to show that in a little while as to why it's not sustainable. But it is unfortunate that it is being done, and it is being driven effectively on the basis of politics, right? Because we're coming up to, in fact, well, we're already here, June the 2nd, in 4 days' time, the 5th year anniversary of the 2016 general election. Pretty much, time's up. That's what it is at this point in time. In any other, if you go online and you look at projected dates for any election, they give you a 5-year period, right? It's from the election date to election date, and they'll tell you time is up, right? So at this point, it's after midnight, right? It's not even the 11th hour anymore. It's after midnight, And we're still piling on, spending, which at the end of the day, the St. Lucian population is going to have to pay back. But what is ironic about this entire situation is that a number of these projects, which we are now rushing to try to save face, to say, look, okay, we were able to do this. Of course, time is up for St. Jude Hospital. That's not going to be completed. Whether elections is in June of 2022, St. Jude Hospital is not going to be completed, in my estimation.
So I've shown you where Calix George Jr., an engineer, is telling you that St. Jude's won't be finished. Even if it was June 2022, it won't be finished. I've shown you where the government itself, its own engineers are telling you that there are 2 more phases, and we haven't even got to the internal equipment, some of which Guy Joseph voided the warranties for by taking it out of the storage facilities. For example, there are tiles which have to be laid and expand to seal. They're not grouted, so that they can be in the surgical rooms, and they needed to be kept at certain temperatures, certain paints, certain radiology equipment, and all the rest of that. And nobody's asking where the laundry equipment has gone, and which of Guy Joseph's people now is operating a private laundromat using the same sanitizers and using the same equipment. No, we'll stay clean on that one, right? Right, no problem. But for those young people who are so happy to willfully be misleading and lying, I wait for when y'all do a program on the creative industries for y'all to try to spin Denry segment as an excuse, or Playlist 42, for the taking down of the budget for creative industries from $1 million and $1.5 million in 2016 all the way down to $50,000 for 4 years and $300,000 this year, which nobody can get access to. But for anybody that doubts that St. Jude's will not be ready, contrary to the little happy clown that they had on the ground down there, right? Here's the best evidence. So we're going to go to May 4th. Wait, May 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. Wait. So that's just about 4 or 5 days ago. That's it. That's it. And sadly, folks, after a decade where, and I'm telling you, if there's one thing that has become an albatross around the neck of the Labour Party, is anytime the Labour Party has had to finish a UWP project which starts off with corruption, like St. Jude's, and then have to clean it up, just like the abattoir, just like Black Bay Lands. Anytime they have to do that, they end up in a quagmire. But this government has taken corruption to a new level. They actually have taken a hospital which was at the commissioning stage. Commissioning teams from Accreditation Canada were already in the existing St. Jude's. They have left the people in the stadium. All this time, they stopped the project. Hate Stevenson King or Kenny Anthony or like them, but they never stopped working on St. Jude's. This government stopped the project for 2.5 years while they did an audit. Can you imagine if you had to stop projects or stop businesses in order to audit them? Let's audit the UNR International Airport, so let's close it down for 2 years to audit it. The Labour government had an audit from 1997 all the way to 2013 done under Alvina Reynolds of St. Jude's. Their board has always been there, even when St. Jude's was not there, but they couldn't do anything. They stopped the project. They kept the people inside, even as they took the roofing off of the stadium, which Guy Joseph's own henchman, Norman Saintville, said triggered the sequences from June 2018, which would necessitate moving people from the George Odlum Stadium. None of that has happened. But you know, Fresh Start has made hundreds of millions of dollars in these last 4 years. You know that all of Guy Joseph and Shastny's favorite contractors, Thief Money, Mangal and them, have made money hand over fist while people remain in squalor in the George Odlum Stadium. And in the meantime, now we have 2 hospitals side by side.
Apparently there are lots of efforts. People want to move into St. Jude tomorrow. And of course, that's not happening. And it's not going to happen. And it's not even going to happen by the end of the year. Because that project is so far behind in terms of what has to happen. And where we are at effectively with St. Jude, if you want to think about it, we're putting up the walls. That's what we're doing now. We're putting up the walls. The cladding effectively is like putting up the walls. We are so far away from anywhere near being complete in St. Jude Hospital. And it's a sad shame, no doubt, because we're now at 11 and a half years. And the reality is 7 of those years has been under this, the United Workers' Party administration. They were there first, and they're back again. And it looks as if we're going to go into a whole new administration, and St. Jude Hospital will still not be finished. But what is even more worrying about St. Jude Hospital right about now is that we actually have 2 hospitals next to each other. That's what we have. And neither of them are complete. So it's a very sad situation.
And you know what's even sadder? That the UWP will socialize and bring young people in so that they can tell lies, whether they know it wittingly or not, or they just mindlessly drinking the pineapple Kool-Aid, that they'd be willing to lie, even though there are objectively verifiable facts out there. And what does that hold for our future? We've already seen that a country's been governed by lies and how it's affecting people's lives. So does that mean that this is something that we want to perpetuate and extol? Good afternoon, caller. Thank you for holding.
Good afternoon, Christopher.
Good afternoon, sir.
Christopher, I want to give my my closing statements on Joachim Henry situation. And after I do that, I think that will be it for me. Christopher, the chairman of the Seventh-day Adventist Mission, Seventh-day Adventist, Roger Stephen, is a damn hypocrite. He's a hypocrite.
Why are you saying that?
To the T.
Why are you saying that?
He's a hypocrite because Joachim Henry, based on the scripture, based on the word of God, from the book of Matthew's Gospel, Matthew chapter 18, verses 15, and bear with me for 2 minutes, please. Moreover, if thy brother shall trespass against thee, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone. And if he shall hear thee, thou hast gained thy brother. But if he will not hear thee, then take thee 1 or 2 more, that in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses every word may be established. The last verse, and if he shall neglect to hear thee, tell it unto the church. That is exactly what Joachim Henry did. He followed the scripture, which is the word of God. That is what guides our faith. When he heard of the evil things that Guy Joseph was saying about him, he confronted him in person, and it never stopped. So what best person that he choose to go to the church with the situation than his wife? That's what the scripture said. Matthew's Gospel 18:15 to 17. So Roger Stephen is a damn hypocrite as a pastor. You have a brother of yours that was assassinated. What about Francis Morris, or what his name is? The guy at the city council. Morris. And you never said nothing about that. He was assassinated, and you never did nothing about it. But it's Joachim Henry you want to crucify. He never addressed it. He's a damn hypocrite. You have endless pastors in the Adventist church that not living right, that destroying families, and you're not addressing that. Caller, but because of money.
Caller, that's something that you cannot necessarily, if you don't have the empirical
data. But he's a pimp. He pimp out the church.
That's my point. I don't think you should hold an entire religion to ransom over what you believe.
Not the head is the head. Well, Roger Stephen is the head.
Well, then
he's the head, and he was the one on national TV condemning Joachim Henry.
I understand that completely. I know.
I'm not supporting that because Joachim Henry did what the scriptures say.
Caller, I understand that.
He did what the word of God what the word of God. Right now, I have a Bible in my hand. I have a Bible in my hand, which is the word of God.
Caller, I understand exactly what you're saying. I'm simply saying I don't think that it's fair to extend it to the entire faith. That's
No,
all.
I'm referring to Roger Stephen.
Okay.
Roger Stephen as the head.
Fair enough.
He failed.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, caller. My thing in all of this is I don't have any problem with public officials being held to account, and I would say it as I said it again. I said it before, I'll say it again. I believe that it is wrong to disrupt a church service. When it was the COVID wardens, I thought it was wrong. If it is Joachim Henry, I think it is wrong. However, what is being done for political theater to a family that is obviously in a horrible situation is exactly that, political theater at the expense of a grieving family. Good afternoon, caller. Thank you for holding.
Good afternoon, Christopher.
Good afternoon.
Christopher, it is a sad moment in St. Lucia right now because you know we are living on borrowed time now with that government, and everything will happen because the people are frustrated. Okay? Gail has done a lot to the people of Miku. He took the people laptop away from them, the children laptop away from them, the underprivileged, and gave it to the privileged. She did it. When she did that, I thought for a while that if she had given the laptops to the mothers in Miku that was there with her last election in the rain, that was there high and dry with her in the wee hours of the morning of election. If she had given it to the mothers, I would say, okay, yes, it would not be the best thing to do because this would be one constituency. But since she's the Minister of Education, she's from Miku and she did it, I would say, okay, leave it alone because this is mothers that was there with her. She never did that. Okay. Then again, she went ahead and they borrowed 200,000 million or whatever monies that they borrowed, 200 million to give children laptops, which these children will be the same one to grow up to come and pay these laptops now. You understand? You see the frustration that they are putting on the children right now, which these children was getting the laptops for free, you know. They're going to borrow money to give children laptop now and for them to come back to pay it. You understand? This is what they are doing to the population of this country right now. Them people are wicked because that is why Chasney will call them jackasses, us jackasses, because we don't think. You understand? Because he thinks he's the bright person that he can ride us. And this is not fair to the people of the country. Then again, I'm going on Joachim now.
Okay.
You meant to tell me Guy Joseph destroyed 2 of the buildings of the 26 buildings we had in Vieux-Fort, the St. Jude. He took excavators and he brought down the building. It was heartbreaking. It hurts. Up to now, it's hurting my heart. Guy Joseph has to be jailed. And I'm going to hold Philip J.P. the next prime minister to do that because this is unfair to taxpayers. It was not Fresh Start money that built St. Jude that Guy Joseph brought down. We need to hold him accountable and he has to be jailed. Running behind Joachim to jail Joachim now for talking to him, things that he's been saying about him that is not true. He feels that Joachim police should be arresting him and take him to jail and everything like that. But he's the biggest one to be jailed. You understand? He needs to because he mashed up, he destroyed the whole St. Jude and up to now the people cannot be in the hospital. And they had the money in their hand to finish the hospital. They shouldn't be doing that to us. And right now, he's been behind Joachim when they have so many things to worry about and so many things to do. Why Chasney wants to finish project? Which government that ever finished any project they started in a country that they run? Tell me.
There are projects that have been started and finished. I guess
you cannot finish all the projects. You cannot finish
all.
all. Some has to be. You cannot finish all. So why Chasney is saying that he has to finish the projects? So therefore, St. Lucia will be stopped after Chasney, after the project's finished. That's what he's talking about. You know, I've not gotten it. So when he finished the project, so there are no projects that will be coming on again. So he finished all the projects and that's he called it judge. That's what he's trying to tell me.
Apparently, caller, apparently. Thank you.
You know, yeah, because there is a lot of shit going on. Tell the man to call the people election because it's overdue. And what is he doing there? He wants to go back to cabinet to put the budget together to start working again.
I've stopped trying to figure out what they're doing. To me, I think it's relatively predictable. All I can say is that this guy is either a genius or what we think of him. It's one or the other. Because of what I'm seeing now, I've never seen it before.
Because I'm not getting it. What is he doing there? What is he doing there? Is he starting another term without election?
Like I said, it's the 4th day of the 6th year of his 5-year term.
No. I have never seen it. Tell the people will get frustrated and they have been acting. The people will get violent. Tell the people, get out, please.
Thank you, caller. Thank you very much. Just so it's said, it's not laptops that Gail has given, it's ebooks. I don't have the figure in front of me of how much they paid for the ebooks. I think something like $5 million or something like that. But the worst part is the ebooks they didn't have the license rights for the software. So government now has to pay something like $2 million a year, every year, for the rights to put the software on the ebooks that have been given a lot of problems, just so it's said. We have a caller that's been on hold. Thank you very much for holding, caller.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. A few years back, I think it was 2016.
Talk a little bit louder, caller.
Okay. 2016, I would think it was.
Mm-hmm.
Mary Isaac, she came in with a Cumbro crew, and they were filming the Castries Health Center at the time. There was a shift from the old health center, Castries Health Center, to the wall just in the same compound. But unfortunately at the time, they did not have time to move all the different sections of the health center to the new building, to the renovated, in fact, building. She came there with her camera crew and she was saying, look at the state of the health center, whilst they were already in process of putting the health center in the updated center.
Okay.
Today, going to the health center, I'm finding out there are no dressings, absolutely no dressings. Diabetics cannot be dressed, and they have to choose who they're dressing. The urine strips are being cut into tiny, tiny pieces because they cannot use a whole urine stick that's customary to use a whole urine stick to test the urine. They have to be cutting it into tiny pieces. I wish I had a photo to show you. I mean, what our health system has gone to. Under Mary Isaac, who should be representing workers because she has years of experience doing that. I mean, she has let the whole health system go down in the gutters, go down in the pit toilet, as far as I'm concerned. The workers, the nurses, the clerks, everybody do not know where they stand because from my understanding, Shasni have already sold out and privatized the hospital.
Yes.
And the staff do not know where they stand. They feel pressured to sign a document. And I think if Lucians are wise, they will stand together and do not sign that document. There is power in numbers, and they should not sign that document. So Lucians, the nurses, the staff at Owen King and at VH, they still have staff at VH. Hold on, do not sign those documents. Stand up for your rights. Thank you.
Thank you. Very, very well said. And very concerning. I think it would almost be an injustice to say that Mary Isaac is the worst Minister for Health, because I don't even think that for most of this term she was a Minister for Health. I think she was a Minister of being clueless, and now a Minister of checking for herself. Let's see what she gets from Canada. This caller's been on hold. Good afternoon, caller. We lost that call. Still there? No? Hello, good afternoon. Okay, I'm not sure what's going on there. In the meantime, before I take my final call, I will also state, for those who have been asking with regards to the t-shirts, I'll try to do this week Saturday. I'll do Castries because I haven't done it, and I'll announce where we'll be located, and we'll do one more round. And for those who are still looking for t-shirts in the south, in particular in Viewfort, Trisha's Bar, we left some there, and if there are any more needed, we can always get them down there as well on the promenade. Good afternoon, caller. Your final caller.
Yes, good afternoon, Tim. How are you? And how are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
Okay, not bad. I'm calling concerning, are you hearing me?
Yes, you need to turn down your device, otherwise you'll keep hearing the echo.
Okay, so are you hearing me?
Yeah, I've always been hearing you.
Yeah, I'm calling concerning the newscast they had of Joaquin Henry and today, right? Are you hearing me?
Yes, caller, I'm hearing you.
Yeah, okay, yes. I think when I listened to the clip today, the officers had a meeting with the lawyers representing Joaquin and his wife. But I'm saying to myself when I called the station earlier on, that we are a Christian nation. And we have more hatred than we have forgiveness in our hearts. But one opposite, someone said to me that if the church tends to forgive, then what about the law? The law is the law. We can't go against that. We have to say the law of the land. But if there's somehow trying to bring some closure to that situation, then why is somebody not funding to the guy to court? It's just a divide and rule to try to penalize the guy to make some headway because we come to an election time. And I'm saying that they should never use that force as a campaign against the guy. If he's at fault, it's fault. But for so nothing happen, why not just forget about that? The guy said about that. However, when I had the caller speak about the center, the health issues of St. that's the worst I've ever encountered, the worst.
I agree with you there.
The workers of St. Jude, I must be proud to them for taking that stand they took. And when you see in numbers, you have a full force. Having taken that stand they took, the news yesterday said they got much more to the bargain for. And that's what we understand. We must come together and unite ourselves. If you have that union force in numbers, you have strength.
Yes.
You can accomplish much more.
Agreed.
It is time we just come together, forget color on either side, come together and face the issues that the heads that be may hear their cries and probably do what they have to do.
Well,
when someone works in a hospital and they have to probably walk in this kind of water, as I saw on the screen, television screen, on news, look, it breaks my heart down. What are we saying of the unionized we have? There are persons which is to join the union. That's where you get your force. That's where you get your strength. And so if everybody, every establishment who works, whether private sector or whatever sector, comes together from a union, then they can achieve much more. It is high time someone should open their eyes and their mind and come to join a union where you get force or strength and claim what is due to them. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. It's also, I also believe unions should have term limits for their leaders so that they do not get entrenched in power. And when I look at the Nurses Association there, and I think of the lack of representation that they've gotten because the lady in charge of the Nurses Association seems to be more of a political operative for the UWP, just like Mary Isaac was when she was in the trade union. Than anything else, it kind of tells a story. Institutionalized corruption there again. Nonetheless, folks, my time is up, but I will only tell you all that for me, I am trying my best to encourage everybody to keep their wits about them, study the facts. Don't take anything that I say verbatim. Don't take it as a gospel. Do your research. Get the objective evidence, because the greatest conviction you have is when you have objectively verifiable facts. Don't take anything Norbert says as gospel. Don't take what I say as gospel. Don't take what you hear from government or even the media as gospel. Find your facts and remember your truth. Who feels it knows it. Remember what you have been through for the last 5 years and now 4 days and counting. And all I'm telling you is, if you are true to yourself, if you love yourself, you love your country, then you will find a way to make the right decision, no matter all the noise that you're hearing from all sides. In the meantime, yep, it does sound a lot like bow wow wow.
Yeah, I have a tune. I have a bad tune. Any tune.
Olha de passe in the Pajero Jeep, and even stopping, not even a bit. This year is election, but they want you now. They're walking up to your mansion to give you a bow. When they enter, good morning, how are you, sir? Campaigning. Bow, 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 bow.
The opinions expressed on this TV program by the host, co-host, guest, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions and responsibility of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of UTV or its affiliates.